Hi friends, Juan the Yarn Addict here, bringing you another stitch pattern tutorial. And for today, I'm going to show you how to crochet this Snapdragon stitch pattern. It's super nice. It looks complicated, but I promise you it is not. It is very simple to work up. We are working with a series of treble crochets, half double crochet clusters, and chains throughout. Now I used a medium 4-weight yarn for this. More specifically, I used Red Heart Super Saver Ombre in the colorway Scuba. It's super nice, and they recommend a 5.5mm crochet hook for this, but because I want the drape, I went ahead and used a 6mm crochet hook. Now feel free to use whatever yarn you'd like. I do suggest perhaps going with the recommended hook size, and then if you want the drape, go ahead and hook up a size or two. Okay, now this works up in multiples of 5 plus 4 for the beginning chain, and we have two setup rows here. So rows 1 and 2 are setup rows, and then 3, 4, 5, and 6 are the repeat. So this is a 4-row repeat pattern. Okay, so after row 6, we're going to go back and begin row 3 again. 3, 4, 5, and 6. So then it goes on and so forth, okay? So you can make this as long or as short as you would like. The possibilities are endless. And when your project is done, if you want to turn it this way and display it on its side, the pattern is beautiful however you want to display it. So without further ado, my friends, let's go ahead and get this tutorial started. Okay friends, so to get started, what we want to do is create a slip knot on our hook. However you do this is absolutely fine. This is how I do it. And from here we're going to chain multiples of 5. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to chain 30. I'm going to place this on a brief pause, and I'll be right back once I have my 30 chains. Okay friends, so once you have your multiples of 5 completed, we're going to go in and chain 4 more. 1, 2, 3, and 4, just like that. And so from here, what we want to do is go into the 5th chain with 2 treble crochets, and this little nubby here next to our hook counts as the first chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're going to go into this chain right here with 2 treble crochets. So we're going to yarn over twice, go into that chain and draw up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, and go through 2 more. And so that is our first treble crochet. We're going to do a second one in that chain. So yarn over twice, go back into the chain we just came out of, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, and go through 2, just like that. And so from here, what we want to do is skip 3 chains and go into the 4th chain. So from here, we're going to skip, 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 and go into this chain right here. And we're going to go into this chain with 2 treble crochets. Yarn over twice, go into the chain, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, and go through 2. I'm going to do the next one silently so you can watch. From here, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to go into the next chain and do 2 trebles. Yarn over twice, go in, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. I'm going to do that one more time. Just like that. From here, we're going to skip 3 chains and go into the 4th chain. So we're going to repeat this sequence right here. 2 trebles, chain 1, 2 trebles. So skip, 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 and go into this fourth chain. We're going to repeat that sequence. Chain 1, and go into the next chain with 2 trebles. Just like that. Okay, so continue repeating this sequence of skipping 3 chains, going into the 4th chain with 2 trebles, chain 1, and then go into the next chain with 2 more trebles. Okay, I'm going to do it with you one more time just to make sure you guys have it, but then that is the repeat for the remainder of our chain spaces here. So we're going to skip 3 chains and go into the 4th one with 2 trebles. After your 2 trebles, you're going to chain 1 and then go into the next chain and do 2 more trebles. And that's it, just like that. So continue doing that, and I will see you when we get to the end of our chain sequence here. Okay, friends, so we are approaching the end of the first row. This is what we're looking like so far. So you should have 4 chains remaining. And what we want to do is go into this last chain right here with 2 treble crochets. So we're going to yarn over twice and take care of our first treble. Then we're going to go back in here and do a second treble. And so that, my friends, completes the very first row. Okay, friends, so to start round 2, what we want to do is chain 4. So let's go ahead and do that. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to turn our work over, and we're going to work into the stitch we just came out of. We're going to do a cluster stitch that will involve the next 4 stitches. Okay, so it's a half double crochet cluster. So we're going to yarn over, go into the stitch we just came out of, draw up a loop, and pull it to give it a little bit of height, just like that. We're going to yarn over and go through 2 only. We're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, pull up a little bit to give it a little bit of height, yarn over, and go through 2. And we're going to repeat that 2 more times. Yarn over, go into the stitch, draw up a loop, give it a little bit of height, yarn over, and go through 2. Yarn over, go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, pull up to give it a little bit of height, yarn over, and go through 2. And so once you have your 4 stitches, they should look pretty much uniform. You're going to yarn over and go through all of your stitches, just like that. And from here, you're going to chain 1 to lock it all in. And that's how it should look. Okay? So from here, what we want to do is chain 2. After we chain 2, we're going to come down into this chain 1 space from row 1, and we're going to insert a single crochet. So we're going to go into the chain space, draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through 2 for the single crochet. From here, we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to repeat our cluster here. by going into the very next stitch. So we're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, give it a little bit of height, yarn over, and go through 2. And we're going to repeat that 3 more times. I'm going to do that silently so you can just watch. Okay, so that's what it should look like. And from here, we're going to chain 2 to come down to this chain 1 space from row 1, do a single, chain 2, and we're going to do another cluster with the next 4 stitches. Yarn over, go down, pull up a loop, give it a little bit of height, go through 2. Just repeat that. Okay, so let's continue with this, repeating the clusters and the chain 2s and everything until we get to the end of the row. I'll finish this one sequence with you, and then I will meet you at the end of row 2. So from here, we're going to chain 2, come down to the chain 1 space with a single crochet, chain 2, and then begin the cluster again right here. All right, so continue with this, and I will see you at the end of row 2. Okay, friends, so I'm approaching the end of round number 2. So I did a single, chain 2, and I have 4 stitches remaining to do my cluster. So I'm just going to finish this cluster very quickly. I'm going to chain 1 to lock it. And so from here, what we want to do is chain 2. And then we're going to go into the last chain before the stitch. So if you have to roll this over to see it, by all means, go ahead and do that. This is the last chain before the actual stitch. So we're going to go into that particular chain with a half double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, go into that chain, draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 of those loops, just like that. And from here, what we want to do is chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we're going to turn our work. And so this is what we are looking like. Super, super nice. Okay, friends, so to start row 3, we have our 4 chains. And from here, what we want to do is work into the eye of the cluster. So if you look, in each cluster, there's this little eye. And that is where we want to work, in the little eye of the cluster. Okay? So in that little cluster, we're going to do 2 trebles, chain 1, and 2 trebles. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Yarn over twice, go into the eye of the cluster, draw up a loop, and let's go ahead and do our treble. So there's 1. There's 2. So from here, we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 2 more trebles. just like that, right into the eye of that cluster. Okay, so from here we're going to jump right over to the next eye of the cluster, right over here, and we're going to do 2 trebles, chain 1 and 2 trebles, and that is the repeat of row 3. Just making sure you get through all of your loops. So it's 2 trebles, chain 1 and 2 trebles, just like that. It might not feel like everything will fit, but I promise you it will. So that is what we're looking like, okay? So continue doing this and I will see you at the end of row number 3. Remember, go into the eye of the clusters from row 2 and insert 2 trebles, chain 1, 2 trebles, okay? So continue with that and I will see you at the end of row number 3. Okay friends, so I am nearing the end of row 3 and this is what we're looking like here. Super, super nice. And so to finish row 3, what we want to do is insert a treble crochet in the second chain. So we had 4 chains here from row number 2. And so what we want to do is go into that second chain there with a treble crochet. So yarn over twice, go into that second chain, draw a loop, do our treble crochet just like that, and that concludes row number 3. Super nice. Okay friends, so to start row 4, what we want to do is chain 3. So let's get our work here and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. From here, we're going to turn our work over and we're going to work a series of clusters and chains for row number 4. So to start, what we want to do is we're going to bypass this very first stitch we came out of. We're going to focus on this shell, more specifically these first 2 stitches right here. So we're going to do a yarn over, we're going to go into the first stitch, draw up a loop, pull up just a little, yarn over and go through 2. We're going to do the same thing next door here. We're going to yarn over, go into that stitch, draw up a loop, pull up just a little, yarn over and go through 2. From here, we're going to yarn over and close all of this out, just like that, and we're going to chain 1 to lock it. So it should look like this, okay? So from here, what we want to do is chain 2, 1, 2. That lock that we did for the cluster does not count, okay? So it's going to look like we have 3, but that first one is a lock. So these 2 are the 2 we're focused with. So from here, we're going to go into that chain space here and do a single crochet. So let's come down here, do a single crochet, just like that. Now this cluster where we only did 2 will only happen on the ends. So the remaining clusters will be a series of 4. Okay, so after the single crochet here, we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to run the cluster over the next 4 stitches. So yarn over, go in, draw up a loop, pull up just a little, yarn over and go through 2, and we're going to repeat that 3 more times. So once we have our 4 stitches, we're going to yarn over and go through all of the stitches. Chain 1 to lock, and this is what we're looking like. Super, super nice. So once we have our cluster, we're going to chain 2, come into the chain space from the previous row with a single crochet, chain 2, and we're going to run our cluster again over the next 4 stitches. So continue doing this, and I will see you when we get to the end of row number 4. Okay friends, so I'm nearing the end of row number 4. So to finish off the row, what we want to do, I just did my cluster, so I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to come down into this chain 1 space and do my single crochet. From here I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to work into the last 2 stitches of the row the same way I did the first 2 stitches of the row. So I'm going to yarn over, go into the stitch, draw up a loop, give it a little bit of height, yarn over and go through 2, and I'm going to repeat that with the next stitch. Once I have my 2 stitches completed, I'm going to yarn over and go through everything, just like that. And from here, I'm not going to chain anything in addition to my lock. So I'm going to lock to close that up, but that's it. So from here, I'm going to go into the last chain before the stitch, and I'm going to insert a double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, go into the chain, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. And that completes row number 4. Super, super nice. Okay friends, so to start row number 5, what we need to do is chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. From here, we're going to turn our work over, and we're going to do a series of treble crochets, similar to what we did in row number 3, right here, okay? So what we want to do is work into the eye of the clusters. So if you finger your way through the previous row, you will see the eye of the cluster. And that's kind of where we want to work our stitches, okay? So for this very first one, what we want to do is work 2 trebles right into the very first eye of this little cluster here. So yarn over twice, go into that eye, draw a loop. Let's do our treble. We're going to do that one more time. Just like that. And after we do those 2, we're going to jump right over to the next eye. Yarn over twice, go right into that eye, draw a loop, and do your treble crochet per normal. We're going to go in and do that one more time. So we have 2, and then we're going to chain 1 and go back into that same stitch there, the eye of the cluster, with 2 more trebles. Just like that, and we're going to continue doing that to every eye of the cluster of the row here, okay? So continue doing that, and I will see you at the end of row number 5. Okay friends, so we are approaching the end of row number 5, and so we have one more eye to do. It's the end here, and so we're going to go into this particular eye with 2 trebles. So let's go ahead and do that. Some of the eyes are very tight, but that's okay. Once you get in there, they're fine. So there's 1, and here is 2. Very nice. Okay, so once those are done, we're going to go into the last chain before the stitch. Just roll it around if you have to. It's right there. We're going to go into that chain right there with a treble crochet. Just like that. Okay, and so that is what we're looking like. It's so nice. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started for round number 6. Okay friends, so to start row 6, what we want to do is pick up our work and chain 4. Once we have 4, we're going to turn our work over and we're going to work a series of clusters. So this time around, we're going to begin with a series of 4, just like we did down here in row 2. Okay, so let's yarn over, go into that very first stitch. We're not going into the one we came out of. We're going to jump into these 2 trebles here. So yarn over, and we're going to go into the stitch, draw up a loop, pull up a little bit, yarn over and go through 2, and we're going to repeat that next door here. Just like that. We're going to do it 2 more times. Once we have 4 on the hook, plus the 1 from our chain there, so you should have 5 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and go through all of those loops. And you're going to chain 1 to lock it in. Just like that. So from here, we're going to chain 2, come down into the chain space and do a single crochet, chain 2 more, and we're going to repeat our cluster. So I'm going to do this silently so you can just watch. Once you have all 4 of those on your hook, you should have 5 loops on the hook. Yarn over and go through all the loops. Chain 1 to lock it in. Chain 2. Come down into your chain space from the previous row and do a single crochet. And that is what we're looking like here. So continue doing this, and I will see you at the end of the row. Just make sure that after you do your single, you chain 2 more, and then begin your sequence for the cluster. Okay? So continue doing that, and I will see you at the end of the row. Okay, friends, I am nearing the end of row number 6, and so I have one more series of stitches here to form a cluster. So I'm going to go ahead and do that very quickly. It's 2, it's 3, and that's 4. Yarn over, go through all the loops there, chain 1 to lock it. And so to finish the row here, what we want to do is go into the last chain before the stitch, which is right there, and we're going to do a half double crochet. So yarn over, go into that chain, draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 loops, just like that. So we have the 6 rows here, and from here, once you have your 6 rows, we are repeating rows 3 through 6. So 3, 4, 5, and 6. These are the repeat rows here. Rows 1 and 2 are setup rows. Rows 3 through 6 are the repeat rows. Okay? So what we're going to do from here is repeat row number 3. Okay? So to start, what we're going to do is chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to turn our work over, and we're going to do a series of trebles. So if you turn your work and look down here at row number 3, we're literally just going to be working into the eye of the clusters. Okay, so I'll do the first one with you guys, and then I will pause us and go to the end of the row. Okay, so a series of 2 trebles, chain 1, 2 trebles is what we're going to do here. Yarn over twice, go into that eye, do 2 trebles. We're going to chain 1 and then go back into that eye with 2 more trebles. Okay, so that's the first one there, and continue on with that. Again, this is a repeat from row number 3, and I will see you at the end of row number 7, okay? Okay friends, so I am at the end of row number 7, which again was the repeat from row number 3. And so from here, I'm going to insert a treble crochet into the second chain. So yarn over twice, go into that second chain, just like that. Insert a treble, and that is the end of row number 7. So for row number 8, we are going to be repeating row number 4. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to turn our work, and we are going to work into the first 2 stitches here. And we're going to do a cluster. So we're going to yarn over, go into the stitch, draw up a loop, give it a little bit of leeway there, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go next door, and do the same thing, draw up a loop, lift that up a little bit, yarn over and go through 2. Yarn over now and go through all 3 loops, chain 1 to lock. And then from here, we're going to chain 2, come down, chain 2, and do another cluster. Okay, so let's chain 2, come down into that chain space with a single crochet, chain 2, and now we're going to do our cluster. So yarn over, go down and pull that up. And we're just going to do this to the next 4 stitches. Just like that. So we're going to yarn over and go through all those loops, chain 1 to lock, and we're going to repeat with the chain 2, single, and chain 2. Okay, so continue with row 8, and I will see you at the other side there. Okay friends, I am nearing the end of row 8. I did my cluster here of 4 stitches. I chained 1 to lock, and now I'm going to chain 2, come down into this chain 1 space here with a single crochet. I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to do one final cluster with these last 2 stitches here. So I'm going to yarn over, go in, draw up a loop, give it some height, yarn over and go through 2, and I'm going to do that one more time. From here, I'm going to yarn over and go through all 3 loops, chain 1 to lock, and then from here, I'm going to insert a double crochet into the last chain before the stitch, which is right here between my thumbs. So I'm going to yarn over, go into that stitch very carefully, draw up a loop, and do a double crochet. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We're going to just continue working here. I'm going to do the remainder of that sequence off camera just to show you what this looks like on a slightly larger scale here, and I will be right back, okay? Okay friends, so this is what we're looking like here. I've done several more rows. It's very, very nice. Again, as I mentioned, you start out with 2 setup rows, and then the next 4 rows are the repeat. Okay, so 3, 4, 5, and 6. And again, this works up in a beautiful fabric here that you can use as a throw, a wrap, a cover up. It's super nice. So that pretty much wraps up this tutorial, my friends. So if you enjoyed this, please hit the like button. Consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, and then hit that notification bell to stay updated with everything regarding me and my channel. That is it for this one, my friends, and until the next one, take care. Bye-bye.